Hello and welcome to the Daily News Simplified, the why, what, and how of newspaper reading. Today we will discuss the daily edition of The Hindu newspaper dated 1st June 2018. So let's start. There is an article on page number 7 which reads, Two smuggled apes rescued. Now this article is in news because two Hillock Gibbons, the only apes to be found in India, were seized by officials of Directorate of Revenue Intelligence near the India-Bangladesh border. Now this topic will fall under the preliminary examination syllabus under the topic General Issues on Environment Ecology and Biodiversity. Now this topic is also important from preliminary point of view because previously questions have been asked on Wildlife Protection Act in the year 2017. So under this article we will try to understand what are apes, and we will also try to understand some of the basic facts related to Hillock Gibbon. We will also try to understand some basic facts related to palm civets. Now, apes are the genetically closest relatives of human beings. This is because humans share 98% of DNA with the chimpanzee. Now, all the non-human types of apes are divided into two groups. The first group is known as the great apes. The great apes include the gorillas, bonobos, chimpanzees, and orangutans. Then there are the lesser apes. These lesser apes are gibbons and siamang. So, under this news article, we will try to cover the basic facts related to gibbons. The distribution of apes can also be seen on the world map. So, the great apes like the chimpanzees and the gorillas are found in Africa in the western part and the central part, while the gibbons are famous in the Southeast Asia and the northeastern part of India. Also, the apes are important because all the great species of ape have been classified as endangered or critically endangered under the IUCN Red List. And most of the places where the great apes are found have been declared as the World Heritage Sites by UNESCO. Now, the key facts related to Hillock Gibbon are the distribution of Hillock Gibbon is that the Hillock Gibbons are found in northeastern part of India, as can be seen in the map. The light green color shows the distribution of Hillock Gibbon. Also in the eastern Bangladesh and in the southwestern part of China. The second important fact is that it is the only ape found in India. Thus, no other apes like chimpanzees or gorillas are found in India. Now, Hillock Gibbon is found in all 7 states of northeastern part of India, which include Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, and Tripura. Further, it is the state animal of Arunachal Pradesh. Now let us have a look at the conservation status of the Hillock Gibbon. Now Hillock Gibbons are extremely rare primates, and due to this, they are listed in the Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. They are also listed as endangered in the IUCN's Red List. Also, there is a wildlife sanctuary in Assam which has been created to conserve the Hillock Gibbon. The name of this sanctuary is Hollongapar Gibbon Wildlife Sanctuary in Assam. Now it can be seen in the map at this location, Hollongapar Gibbon Wildlife Sanctuary. So till now we have learned that Hillock Gibbon is found in the northeastern part of India, as can be seen in the map here. It is the only ape found in India. Further, it is found in all the 7 northeastern states, and it is the state animal of Arunachal Pradesh. Further, the conservation status of Hillock Gibbon is that it is listed in the Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act 1972. It is also listed as endangered in the IUCN's Red List. Further, there is a wildlife sanctuary created in Assam to protect the Hillock Gibbon. The name of the sanctuary is Hollongapar Gibbon Wildlife Sanctuary, which can be seen in the map here. Now, the news article also mentions that palm civets were also seized by the officials of the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence. So, we will have a look at certain basic facts related to palm civet. The palm civet is native to India and Southeast Asia. The palm civet is listed as least concerned in IUCN's Red List. It is because it is tolerant of a broad range of habitats. Further, it is protected under the Schedule 2 of Wildlife Protection Act 1972 in India. Since it is widely found in India and is not endangered, it is listed in the Schedule 2 of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 and not in the Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act. So under this article, we have learned some of the basic facts related to the apes. We have also learned important facts related to Hillock Gibbon. Further, we have learned some basic facts related to palm civet. We have learned that Hillock Gibbon is protected under the Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act. That is why the questions related to the Wildlife Protection Act schedules become important. And previously in the year 2017, there were 2 questions based on the Wildlife Protection Act. So let us try to answer these questions. The first question reads, in India, if a species of tortoise is declared protected under the Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, what does it imply? The first option is, it enjoys the same level of protection as the tiger. So this option is correct in this question. In this question, according to the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, which of the following animals cannot be hunted by any person except under some provisions provided by law? So the options are ghadial, Indian wild ass, and wildlife buffalo. All the three are protected under the Wildlife Protection Act. So the correct answer is B, 1, 2 and 3. Also, we should try to learn the name of the Hillock Gibbon Wildlife Sanctuary and the state in which it is located. Because previously questions have been asked based on the wildlife sanctuaries located in the northeastern part of India. With this, let us move on to the next article. There is an article on page number 7 which reads, Sharp drop in tobacco in India, says WHO report. The article further reads, Problem of chewing tobacco in countries not addressed, say experts. So this article is in news because 31st May is the World No Tobacco Day. And on this occasion, a WHO report says that there is a sharp drop in the tobacco smoking in India. So we will have a look at the key points that have been brought out by this report. This topic will fall under the General Studies paper 2 of the mains examination syllabus. Under the subtopic, issues relating to health. Now previously in the year 2015, a question was asked, public health system has limitations in providing universal health coverage. Do you think that private sector could help in bridging the gap? What other viable alternatives would you suggest? Now, although this question is not directly related to the news article, but this highlights that public health issues are important from mains point of view. And the usage of tobacco is one of the important public health issues in India. Now, the report says that prevalence of tobacco smoking has dropped from 19.4% in 2000 to 11.5% in 2005. The report also projects that prevalence of tobacco smoking will further decline to about 9.8% by 2020 and 8.5% by 2025. Another observation of the report is that prevalence of tobacco use has decreased more slowly in low and middle income countries as compared to the high income countries. The reason for this disparity is that low and middle income countries have not been able to bring out strong anti-tobacco policies. This is because of relentless lobbying from the tobacco industry. So the key observations are prevalence of tobacco smoking has dropped, and the report projects that the prevalence of tobacco smoking will further drop. Also, the prevalence of tobacco use has decreased more slowly in low and middle income countries as compared to the high income countries. And finally, the reason for this slow decrease in the low and middle income countries is that the low and middle income countries have not been able to bring about strong anti-tobacco policies because of relentless lobbying by the tobacco industry. Now, by the way of this infographic, the article also provides certain data related to the tobacco usage. This data can be used for mains answer writing. The infographic highlights that tobacco kills 7 million people every year. Cancer accounts for more deaths worldwide than AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis combined. 1 in 5 cancer deaths are caused by tobacco usage globally. Cancer is one of the 5 leading causes of death in India. Further, tobacco use is the leading cause of cancer in India. And 90% of oral cancers and 40% of all cancers are caused by tobacco usage. And finally, the WHO report claims that 27% smoked tobacco in 2000 as compared to 20% in 2016. Thus, the given data and facts show the gravity of the problem of tobacco usage. The article also highlights problems specific to India which are related to tobacco use and have not been included in the WHO report. The article says that the WHO report only covered the tobacco usage in the form of smoking, while India has large population of chewing tobacco users. More than 3/4 of the tobacco users consume tobacco in the chewing form. The article says that overall tobacco users, that is smoking and chewing, as shown in the data point, have decreased from 35% in 2009-10 to 29% in 2016-17, with most of the states making progress. As can be seen in the data point, the percentage of tobacco users in the country reduced from 35% in the 2009-10 to 29% in 2016-17, while most states made progress with fewer users. For example, in Bihar, the usage of tobacco decreased from 53.9% to 25.9%. However, there are other states which registered an increase in the tobacco usage. These states are Tripura, Assam, and Tamil Nadu. Thus, this is a cause of concern and it will pose an additional burden. So, the key takeaways are that the majority of tobacco users in India use tobacco in the form of chewing, and only 1/4 of them use in the form of smoking. And although some states have made progress, other states like Tripura, Assam, and Tamil Nadu have registered an increase in the number of tobacco users, which is a worrying trend. The article also highlights that there is lack of awareness about the ill effects of tobacco usage. The article says that most people know that using tobacco causes cancer and lung diseases, but many people are not aware that it also causes heart diseases and strokes. And tobacco-induced heart diseases and strokes are the world's leading killers. Thus, to generate awareness, On the World No Tobacco Day, WHO is drawing attention to the fact that tobacco not only causes cancer, but it is also responsible for cardiovascular diseases. Further, tobacco use and second-hand smoke exposure, second-hand smoke means passive smoking, were the major causes of cardiovascular diseases. Further, various studies have highlighted that there is a serious lack of knowledge of multiple health risks associated with the tobacco. For example, in China, a survey by Global Adult Tobacco Survey has revealed that over 60% of the population was unaware that smoking causes heart attacks. So, highlighting the lack of awareness among people, the article says that most people don't know that smoking can cause serious cardiovascular diseases. Further, tobacco usage and secondhand smoke exposure, that is, passive smoking, are the major causes of cardiovascular diseases. So, under this article, we have learned about key observations brought out by the WHO report. Further, we have also learned some of the key facts related to the global problem of tobacco smoking. We also found that chewing tobacco users are in large number in India as compared to the people who consume tobacco in the form of smoking. And also in states like Tripura, Assam and Tamil Nadu, the number of tobacco users has increased. And finally, we found that a lot of people are unaware that tobacco causes cardiovascular diseases also. So the findings of the report are important from mains point of view and can be used in answers related to public health in mains examination. And a question can directly be asked in the mains examination related to the problem of tobacco usage in India. With this, let us move on to the next article. There is an article on page number 8 which reads, Settling Disputes Out of Court. The article further reads, Pre-litigation mediation is an important step to improve the ease of doing business. Now this topic falls under the General Studies paper 2 of the mains examination. Now this issue is in news because amendments have been brought to the Commercial Courts Act 2015 by an ordinance. Now this article is important because a large number of cases are pending in the Indian courts. And by these amendments to the Commercial Courts Act 2015, resolution of various cases related to commercial disputes will be increased and the number of pending cases will come down. This will save the valuable time of the courts in delivering justice in other fields. So under this article, we will first have a look at some of the provisions of this act, then we will have a look at the amendments that have been brought, and finally we will also have a look at the major benefits that are likely to be witnessed because of these changes. The key provisions of the Act have been discussed in the March edition of the Focus magazine. So under the Commercial Courts Act 2015, the government has constituted commercial courts at district level, commercial division and commercial appellate division in the high courts, for adjudicating commercial disputes of specified value by enacting a law as it will free the workload of regular courts in India. Now let us understand what are commercial disputes. So any dispute that is related to transactions between the merchants, bankers, financiers, traders, etc. dealing with mercantile documents, partnership agreements and intellectual property rights, etc. Commercial disputes are also related to export or import of merchandise or services, admiralty and maritime law. They also include construction and infrastructure contracts, including tenders. Further, agreements relating to immovable property used exclusively in trade or commerce are also included in the commercial disputes. And the commercial disputes also include distribution and licensing agreements, management and consultancy agreements, joint venture agreements, and shareholders agreement, etc. Finally, the arbitration involving commercial disputes, including international arbitration, which are filed in the civil courts or high courts of value of more than rupees 1 crore. Now, through the amendment, this value has been reduced to rupees 3 lakh. Now, the types of court that have been created under this act are the commercial courts, commercial division of high court, and commercial appellate division. So, the benefits of the Commercial Court Act 2015 are that it will streamline the cases related to the commercial disputes and will help in speedy resolution of such cases. Further, it will effectively help in reducing the burden of cases at the level of high court. The speedy disposal of cases will help in improving compliance and in enforcing contracts. It will also help in increasing the ease of doing business. It will help in creating a specialist cadre of judges dealing with the commercial disputes. And finally, it will improve the judicial infrastructure at the level of district court as well as high courts by providing adequate training facilities including special seminars. The present article says that amendments have been brought to this Commercial Court Act. So what are these amendments? First is the reduction in pecuniary limit. So under the present Commercial Court Act, the high courts could decide disputes with a value of at least 1 crore rupees. Now the ordinance reduces this limit to rupees 3 lakh. Further, a provision of mandatory mediation has been provided in those cases where no urgent relief is being sought by the parties to the dispute. So a provision of mandatory mediation has been introduced now. So two amendments have been introduced. First, the reduction in the pecuniary limit to rupees 3 lakh rupees, and second, the mandatory mediation provision. Now, what is mediation? Mediation provides an opportunity to the parties to resolve the commercial disputes outside the ambit of the courts through the authorities constituted under the Legal Services Authorities Act 1987. So, mediation takes place outside the ambit of the court and it helps in faster resolution of various commercial disputes. Now, let us have a look at the benefits of these amendments. First is, these amendments will help in reinforcing investors' confidence in the resolution of commercial disputes. Further, the mediation process is required to be completed within a period of 3 months. It can only be extended further for just 2 months. Finally, this will help in bringing about ease of doing business and will help India improve its ranking in the Ease of Doing Business Index. So, under this article, we have understood the main objective of the Commercial Courts Act 2015. What is meant by commercial disputes? What are the types of courts created under the Commercial Court Act? And what are the benefits of the Commercial Court Act? Further, what amendments have been brought to the Commercial Courts Act? And finally, we have understood that what is meant by mediation and the benefits that are likely to come up due to the amendments that have been brought to the Commercial Courts Act 2015. Now, with this, let us move on to the next article. Now, there's an article on page number 9 which reads, Regulating Medical Education. It further reads, on the amendments to the Medical Council Bill. Now, this article is in news because National Medical Council Bill 2017 was introduced in the Parliament to regulate the medical education system and its practice in the country by replacing the Indian Medical Council Act of 1956. Now, this topic will fall under the General Studies Paper 2 of the Mains Examination syllabus. Under the subtopic, Issues relating to Development and Management of Social Sector Services relating to Health and Education. In the year 2015 and in the year 2014, questions were asked related to the improvement in the education system that is required. The first question read, the quality of higher education in India requires major improvements to make it internationally competitive. The second question read, should the premier institutes like IITs or IIMs be allowed to retain premier status, allowed more academic independence in designing courses, and also decide mode or criteria of selection of students? Discuss in the light of growing challenges. So similarly, a question can be asked on the changes that are being brought about in the medical education system. So under this article, we will try to understand the key provisions of the National Medical Commission Bill 2017 and why are amendments being brought about in the National Medical Commission Bill 2017. Firstly, the National Medical Commission Bill will replace the Indian Medical Councils Act of 1956. The key provisions of the 2017 bill were, the bill established a National Medical Commission to lay down policies for, first, maintaining a high quality and high standard in the medical education. Secondly, regulating medical institutions, medical researchers, and medical professionals. Thirdly, assessing the requirements in healthcare, including human resources for the health and healthcare infrastructure. The bill further constituted Medical Advisory Council. For the admissions, the bill provided for national eligibility cum entrance test and examination. And finally, the bill also provided for national licentiate examination to obtain a license to practice medical profession after graduation. This examination will also be the basis for admission to the postgraduate medical courses. And finally, there was a provision of bridge course, which allowed the Ayush practitioners to prescribe modern medicine. Ayush is the traditional system of medication, which includes Ayurveda, Unani, etc. So the key provisions of the bill were, it established National Medical Commission, it established Medical Advisory Council, it provided for national eligibility cum entrance test and examination, it also provided for national licentiate examination for postgraduate medical courses, and finally it provided for a bridge course that allowed Ayush practitioners to prescribe modern medicine. However, there were protests regarding the bridge courses. And because of these protests, the 2017 bill was referred to a parliamentary standing committee in January. On the basis of the report of the committee, Union Cabinet has approved certain amendments to the 2017 bill. Now we will have a look at the amendments that are being brought about. The amendments introduce a national exit test. Under this test, the final MBBS examination will be held as a common exam across the country, and this would serve as an exit test called as the National Exit Test or the NEXT. Now through this, the students will not have to appear in a separate exam after the MBBS to get the license to practice. Further, NEXT would also serve as the screening test for the doctors with foreign medical qualifications in order to practice in India. So the final MBBS examination will be a common exam across the country, and this would serve as the exit test. Further, for practicing, the MBBS students will not have to appear for a different test. And also, doctors with foreign medical qualification will have to appear in this national exit test to start practicing in India. Further, the amendments have proposed the removal of the bridge courses which were controversial. Under this, the provision dealing with the bridge course for Ayush practitioners to practice modern medicine has been removed. And further, it has been left to the state governments to take necessary measures for addressing and promoting primary healthcare in rural areas. The amendments have also proposed a fee regulation, that is, the maximum limit of 40% seats for which fee would be regulated in private medical institutions and deemed universities has been increased to 50% seats. Further, the amendments provide for increased representation of states and union territories. Under this, the number of nominees from the states and union territories in the National Medical Commission will be increased from 3 to 6. And the National Medical Commission will comprise of 25 members, of which at least 21 will be doctors. And finally, stringent punishment has been provided for unauthorized practice. The punishment for any unauthorized practice of medicine has been made severe by including a provision for the imprisonment of up to 1 year along with a fine extending up to Rs 5 lakhs. So the amendments provide for fee regulation, increased representation of states and union territories, and they also provide for stringent punishment for unauthorized practice. The amendments also provide for a national exit test, and it has provided for the removal of the bridge courses through which the Ayush practitioners were supposed to prescribe modern medicines. So this topic becomes important because previously questions have been asked on the quality of higher education in India. So a similar question, for example, how far will the proposed amendments in the National Medical Council Bill be successful in improving the quality of medical education in India? Discuss. So such question can be asked in the mains examination. With this, let us move on to the next article. There is a news article on page number 7 which reads, Steps to check funding to Naxals. Now this topic is an important part of General Studies paper 3 under the topic Internal Security. The news article focuses on steps taken by investigative agencies and states which are affected by left-wing extremism to choke the funding of such left-wing extremist organizations. Further, the article highlights that collaboration of all investigative agencies is important to check the flow of funds to such left-wing extremist organizations. For this, the agencies like Enforcement Directorate, National Investigation Agency, Intelligence Bureau, and the police chiefs of left-wing extremism affected states like Odisha, Telangana, Chhattisgarh, Bihar, and Jharkhand, and West Bengal were present in a review meeting to discuss ways to prevent money laundering. So the funding of Naxalism is an important topic for mains examination. Previously in the year 2017 and 15, questions were asked based on the funding of the terrorism and Naxalism. Now under this article, we will try to understand what are the steps being taken by the Government of India to control the left-wing extremism. So the important ways in which government is tackling this problem of left-wing extremism are that it has created a left-wing extremism division in the Ministry of Home Affairs. Now it was created in October 2006 in the MHA. This was done to effectively address the left-wing extremist insurgency in a holistic manner. This division implements security-related schemes aimed at capacity building in the left-wing extremist affected states. The division also monitors the LWE situation and various countermeasures taken by the affected states. The left-wing extremism division coordinates the implementation of various developmental schemes of central government with the states affected with the left-wing extremism. Thus, the left-wing extremist division in Ministry of Home Affairs is the key body to handle the problem of left-wing extremism in a holistic manner. It looks at both the security and the developmental aspects. Now further, a national policy and action plan was announced in 2014. This was done to address the issue of left-wing extremism comprehensively. It comprises of 4 elements. First, an integrated multi-pronged strategy comprising security-related measures. Second, development-related initiatives. Third, ensuring rights and entitlements-related measures. And finally, the management of public perception. So the government is trying to tackle the left-wing extremism through the 4 steps that are mentioned in the National Policy and Action Plan 2015. It includes an integrated multi-pronged strategy for security-related measures. Secondly, it has development-related initiatives. Thirdly, it plans at ensuring rights and entitlement-related measures. For example, most of the left-wing extremism affected states have tribal areas within them. So the effective implementation of Forest Right Acts becomes crucial. And finally, the management of public perception. Recently, a report by Ministry of Home Affairs found that 8 new districts have been affected by left-wing extremism. There is a reduction of left-wing extremism in 44 districts. With this, we have come to the end of today's discussion. For more DNS videos, subscribe and press the bell icon. Now let us move on to the question for the day.